So let's see how fast we can get people in on this. Oh, I gotta set up chat. I gotta set up the chat. Live chat, always puts it on top chat. So, you guys can see the title. We can talk about straight razors. And some of the, hey, what's up? I started an Instagram live feed, and then wife came home real quick. We had to take care of something. I came right back. I actually didn't even have to leave. So, hey, what's up, Dwayne? So what we're gonna talk about is straight razors. This is what I was gonna talk about on Instagram, but I like this format better, mainly because I get paid to do it. All joking aside, I do get, there is financial, not much, not to pull a punch, not to hide shit from you guys. I get paid to do live feeds. They're monetized. But, so what we're gonna talk about is straight razors and some of the unique things you're going to run into while sharpening straight razors. I'm actually going to sharpen a straight razor while we're talking. So straight razors are designed in a fashion. I know I've done this before in videos, but we're going to do it again anyway. So this spine and this edge are one angle, and that's how you sharpen it. It's how you set angle on a straight razor. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to see how this one comes out. And I'm kind of afraid that this one was done incorrectly. But we're going to see. We're going to take off some of this material. Then we're going to see where these edges are. So, this is how you sharpen straight razor. No pressure. Let the stone do all the work. Back and forth. And then you check and see where your edges are touching. So, one of the unique things about a straight razor is you cannot sharpen them like you sharpen a knife. You can't get up, lift the edge, change the angle. It's supposed to be a set angle. And that's when I get upset. You've heard me talk about videos, people putting tape on the spine. These have to match wear, forward to back. So this one, I've never seen this brand before, and I'm trying to see, this one might end up being a good bit of work. Because exactly as I was afraid of, there was not a mark on this spine. Not a scratch, nothing. So that tells me right off that that means that that was lifted and sharpened that way, which means I have to take off some material here and a lot of material here, or I'm not going to be able to hit that edge. So we're going to play with it for a little bit and see. So that's one of the issues. You can't waver that angle. You can't lift it. It's not like a knife where you can just, oh, that angle's not touching. I can just change my angle. I can steepen my angle. Nope. This is the only way to do this and do it right. One of the other things is straight razors are time consuming. So that's 100% what I was afraid of. That edge is not even trying to touch the stone on the forward part of that. So this has been done incorrectly, and we're going to see how much work this actually might wind up being if I can even do it. If I can't do it, I don't charge the customer. So a lot of times guys will go and they'll get a cheap straight razor. I cannot tell you how bad of an idea that is. I'll just go and I'll get this $13, $14 razor on Amazon. It'll be fine. I'll send it to Mike. Mike can sharpen it. No, I don't live in the woods. I live in downtown San Diego. So when you try to go cheap with some of these, you wind up with what I'm afraid of here, which is that I'm just not going to be. No, I killed a bear, killed a lot of deer. And so when you're sharpening these, you want to see if your stone's touching. Now this might not be too hard to correct that angle. So all I'm doing is taking the material off the front to marry to the spine. Shotgun. Yeah, I've killed a lot of animals. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. So the other problem was getting those cheap straight razors. Like I said, a lot of times they don't know about the geometry that needs to be there, and it'll be off from one side to the other, and it's been sharpened like a knife, and so the edge is blunt. You want these to be really thin, and you want that angle to marry up at the front, because as you own this, the longer you own this, the more you sharpen it, the more material's coming off back here. Well, typically you're gonna get into a thicker part, like on a knife, you would get into a thicker part of the blade, and you will on these too. What that spine touching the stone lets you do is you maintain a consistent angle throughout the life of that. And even if it gets a little thicker, that angle changes and narrows out and stays thin at the edge for you to be able to shave with. Because if you don't take that material off the back, you're going to have it continue to go from thin, and then it's going to continue to thicken as it comes back further, because as you continue to not take material off the spine, say you use tape, which I've seen a lot of people do, you're not flattening this and marrying those two angles, and the problem you have is it thickens, and then you get an uncomfortable shave, and then it's pulling, and a lot of times just because people do not want to lose the shiny pretty spots on their razors. Well, I mean, there's ways to do it, but if you're doing it the way you really should be, if you're doing it the way you should be, it's gonna stay pretty much simple. However, like I said, it's time consuming. Because if I had a knife that was doing this, I could simply just steepen the angle, take off the back, like say it had a chip. I can steepen the angle on a knife and then lay it back down and knock that shoulder off and curvature that edge back up to the apex. You can't do that with this. You just basically have got to just take the time to do it this way. So, like I said, buying a straight razor, you should never go cheap. Now, I'm not saying go to the Art of Shaving and buy one of their extremely expensive shop branded, because they're Procter & Gamble. Basically, everything you're buying there is Gillette. And if you're like me, right now I'm kind of boycotting Gillette because of their whole war on masculinity when they sell a product that 90% of their customer base is male. So what's a good price point? I mean, it just depends. I have some really expensive straight razors. They were gifts. My wife got me one. I have some old pre-World War II straight razors that belonged to my grandfather. So when you're looking at today's straight razors, I mean, there's a lot of price points, but here's the thing. A lot of times what you're paying for is something really fancy and pretty that's just gonna get scratched up the first time you sharpen it. So skirt away from those really fancy ones with all the gold wash on the spine or these really fancy designs, unless you just wanna collect them for that. But it's, there's a definite market out there for the really fancy, like collector style straight razors. But a lot of times they're no better than the other ones. And if you go, like I said, if you go to Art of Shaving, you're gonna pay an upcharge because it's got that branding on it. So what I would recommend is find a model that you like, maybe go to the Art of Shaving, look at some of the razors that they have, find one you like, write it down, and then go online. There's a lot of places that sell straight razors online that are going to cost you less than the Art of Shaving. So, let's see. Have I apexed this? Do not believe I have. So, not yet, not everywhere. So what we're gonna do is, put this way I go up a grid. So, straight razors. The other thing to look at is the handle gonna be comfortable. This handle, not real comfortable. It's a metal handle, so it's heavy. It is an aluminum handle on a steel blade. And what you're gonna wind up with is you run a risk. My hands hurt, I've been sharpening all day. Hang on a second, guys. So you run a risk with a straight razor that has a steel blade and an aluminum handle, you run a risk of something that's called bimetallic corrosion, especially in a wet environment where you have salts and things like that in it. So in a wet environment, aluminum and steel, they share electrons, and you wind up with this white powdery shit, and what it is it's metal that's just dissolving into that. So that's part steel, part aluminum, and you're basically making an amalgam of steel and aluminum through the process of bimetallic corrosion, which is basically two dissimilar materials, two dissimilar metals, and they're making an electrical current back and forth because one wants to give away an electron and one wants to absorb it, and it's going back and forth, and basically you make an electric current, and you have now caused some bimetallic corrosion through that process that allows them both to fall apart. It's really common on US Navy ships where you have steel superstructure, steel everything till you reach a point, and then everything above that point is aluminum. Well, that marriage point where the two are sealed together, you get bimetallic corrosion. It's this white powder. It's like aluminum oxide, but a little bit different. It's aluminum oxide and some other stuff, but it can actually cause holes in bulkheads and things like that. So it's not a good idea to have two dissimilar metals and handles. Now, I've seen stainless steel handles. That's the other thing. Is the handle gonna be comfortable, and is it gonna be too heavy? That is awkward. It's got a lot of sharp edges, nothing's been chamfered, nothing's round, as opposed to a good straight razor with either plastic or wood, or if you're got an old school one, the celluloid. It's basically the same stuff they used to make film and stuff out of for movies. Celluloid. No, you cannot KME sharpen on a straight razor. It has to be the only way to do it is to do it by hand on flat stones. It's the only way to do it properly. And the reason is, you got to use the right kind of stones. That material is so thin at the edge. By the time you're getting it in the clamps and everything, and you're not taking that material off, and your angle's too steep, and then you just take the whole edge off. It's gone. You've fucked that razor. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to a finer grit, because now I've set a scratch pattern, and I'm gonna see if any of this is not touching the scratch pattern. The other things about sharpening straight razor is your stones have got to be absolutely flat and smooth. If you were to look, you can probably see it. You see that there's no scratches, no nothing. There's not like any lines or anything. It is cool looking, but it's more built for form than function. So right now, I went from 600 grit to 1,000 grit so that we can see where the stone is touching and where it is not. These are water stones. Only water stones for razors. Is that what you're trying to say, Chris? Were you answering his question? So let's... just only a couple spots. So the other thing, no, it's water. This is water. So you're not gonna find many razors that have their steel listed. It is just carbon steel. You're gonna find carbon steel, and that's what you want. And the other thing too is, straight razor is not sharpened. It's not heat treated the same as a knife. They are just tempered at around spring temper, just past spring temper, because that's what you want. You want flex in that blade, because what you're going to do is this blade is going to slam into those hairs and deform, but you want it to come back to its original after a period of time, and they will. So if you don't have the tools to sharpen a straight razor, it can get expensive because straight razors cost starting at $35. So just because they're time consuming and stuff like this, like I'm not gonna sharpen this whole razor for you guys. I think I might be able to finish this on this stone up to a little bit. But like I said, that handle is extremely uncomfortable. Just even sharpening, I can feel it. It's got a lot of blade wobble right there. So it's like there to there. It's got a pinch point where it catches, but that whole open, well, with me trying to sharpen it, it allows a lot of play in that. And it's really sharp. It's really sharp. But this is naked armor. Oh, okay, I'm seeing it. There's a real low spot right there. So here's the nice thing about straight razor. It doesn't hurt. You can't really feel it. If it's good and sharp, you can't feel it when it cuts you. So now what I've established is that there's a low spot on this side. So now I have to count strokes. There's a technique that I'm going to use that if you're sharpening a straight razor, I do not recommend, but it's called the circle. You just do 10 circles, and then you do 10 more. And it allows you to take off a little bit more material a little quicker than you normally would. So, I got a phone call from Tim Reeve at Tim Reeves Knives a little bit ago. I like Tim. He's a good guy. Someone saw the video, someone there saw the video I did about the exits on my Hologram, on my Sebenza being a little off, which I no longer really even notice. It was just something that surprised me, and he offered to take that knife back and fix it. And I told him, I was like, you know what, at this point, here's the thing. It's good and sharp. It's just, that's an aesthetic thing. It doesn't really affect anything. I told him then, I was like, it's just more that like, I was starting to see some changes and transitions in a company I really like. And I was just bringing them, like I brought it to my attention. So we talked for a little bit. I told him, I was like, you know what? I don't think it's gonna matter. I don't think it does even make sense to even do it. I would have to send the knife in. I would have to sharpen it when he came back. And so I thanked him and I told him, you know, hey, that's cool, but you know, at this point, I don't think it even matters. So I told him I'm planning on going to Blade in Atlanta this year. Told him I'd see him there. But so somebody brought the video to his attention, and he contacted me. He's like, hey, you know, the guy brought it to my attention. It was on the fan page. And he said the guy showed it to him, and he's like, I've got that guy's card in my Rolodex. Because Tim took a couple, and Matt took a couple. And so that's pretty cool. So he's like, well, hey, this is my cell phone, so my cell number. So if you ever need anything, I was like, that's cool. That's cool. So Tim and Matt from, if you watch the video from the Las Vegas show, I talked with Matt. You just didn't get to see Tim. He was busy. Yeah, probably set it up so we can have some beers together in Atlanta for Blade show. So if you're doing this, you want to keep track of your strokes. If you watch, I'm only doing 10 on each side. With a straight razor, you have got to be extremely you always have to be thinking about how many strokes. So with a straight razor, it's almost 100% of the time, it is up, roll it on the spine so you don't lift it and actually hit too hard, up and back, up and back. And I have to pay attention when I do straight razors because I gotta watch and make sure that I'm not lifting that at all, that I'm maintaining constant contact for the entire travel. Remember that video I did about, you know, what are you using your stones for? That's another part of it. So let me show you guys, let me see if I can show you guys what's going on here. You know, see, I've taken that material there and there off, and I've scratched that whole back, because if you don't roll it the right way, what happens, you lift and you try to set it back down, and you just, all it takes is just bumping that edge against the stone, and you gotta start all over. If you're careful, you can do it. I've done it for customers that wanted to maintain just that beautiful, perfect aesthetic on their knives, or on their razors, I mean, but most of the time, unless, I mean, I've sharpened some really expensive razors. Because if you buy a straight razor anywhere in San Diego at the Art of Shaving, you get one of my cards. And so I've had a lot of really nice straight razors come in. So now we're gonna go up to the next stone and we're gonna see if that scratch pattern goes all the way to the apex, because this next stone is pretty fine. We're gonna go to 2,000 grit versus 1,000. And then we'll go to 5, and 8, and 10. I don't think you guys are gonna be sticking around for that whole journey. So I only need to do a couple strokes before we'll be able to tell if I need to go back down. All right. Well, I don't think I'm gonna keep the live feed up that long. Okay, I'm just gonna have to tell this guy, because there's just a spot where this edge was not even ground on that corner. So everything else looks good though. I'm just gonna have to let him know there's a little spot there that I can't do anything about, and I'll ask him if he just wants me to round that off with a file. So this is a 2,000 grit. This is probably where I'm gonna stop with you guys on this 2,000, and then I've got to get this up. But I just wanted to touch base with you guys about, you know, some of the differences between sharpening a straight razor. And one of the big things is, like I said, don't buy like an $11 straight razor and think you're just gonna be able to take that thing. Don't buy a $400 straight razor and think you're gonna be able to take it out of the box and shave with it. You're gonna have to hone it. It's just the way it is with straight razors. Straight razors normally do not, all straight razors go to 12,000. So don't think you can take any straight razor out of the box and just start shaving with it, because it's not gonna happen. What's gonna happen is you're gonna get that razor and it's gonna be pulls and tugs, because they take it to about 800 and then they put it on a paper wheel and polish that edge out, and it gets some inconsistencies, but it's not honed. It's not honed, it's not perfect. So every straight razor I do, I take it to 12,000, I just drop it down to half micron to get that good, clean, hair popping edge that you want. Yep. So, I mean, it's a time-consuming thing, and it takes practice, lots of practice, to sharpen a straight razor, because it becomes a matter of making sure you're not putting pressure on it, making sure that you're doing the proper angle, making sure you're not lifting the blade as you come up, which is really easy to do. When you get that, when you start to make that travel in that X pattern from here, it's easy to lift one way or the other. You do it like I do an X pattern, and I bring it up and I X back, down, back, and you've got to make sure that you're not lifting because you'll change the angle, you'll knock whatever work you've accomplished is done by that point. And then so once you get up to 2,000, once you get up into some of the higher grits, I recommend, so I'm doing leading strokes, 1, 2, after that bring it forward and do a couple stropping strokes, because what it does is any bumping into the abrasive that you've done going this way, if you come back, it doesn't do that. It drags it back off and you get a smoother finish off your stone. So once you get to about the 2,000 grit, you start doing a few stropping strokes before you go to the next stone. That's all you're doing. So we'll go to the 5,000 and I'll show you guys one thing, because I can show you on the 5,000 a lot easier. Just got to get it wet enough that it'll. I'll set that right there like that. So, what I'm going to show you is, if you've gotten that edge as smooth as it needs to be to go to the 5,000 grit stone, you're going to see when you put the water down, and you guys might not be able to see it. I'm going to turn the camera around so I can try and catch it. When you lay that edge down, you're going to see it push like a wave of water out in front of it, like it just squished all the water out from under the edge, because it's exactly what it did. You want to make sure it's smooth enough that it's marrying down, and then when you start to drag that across, you're going to see it push. They'll see like a little wave of water where it's making such close contact, such tight contact with the surface of that stone that it's pushing the water ahead of it. That's what you want. Then you know that you've gotten it nice and smooth in apex. It's a visual cue that you have done all the pre-work to go to that stage where you're ready to go up to the 5,000. If you put it down, if it doesn't do it the first time, give it 2 strokes and see, because you still have that coarser scratch pattern from 1,000. So you're going from 1,000 to 5,000. Give it 2 strokes, and then look when you flip it down and see if you see where that edge touches, that it pushes water out in front of it. And then when you start to move the blade down the stone, you should see like a wave of water being pushed in front of it, like a wake, if you would. Let's see. Let me see if I can. Let me see if it's doing it. Yeah, it pretty much is. Boom. Don't know if you guys are going to be able to see the actual wave that comes forward. Yeah, you can. You'll be able to. All right, so. All right. Let me turn the camera around and get you in view. And let's see here. Let me put some more water on this stone so I can get a good view of it. So what you're going to do is when you put that down, let's see. See it? See that little wave that came forward when you put that down? And then it's going to push. It's just going to push the water right in front of it. Boom. There's that little wave. It's going to push that water right in front of it. It's hard to do that one-handed. Let's get you back in the tripod. Did you guys see what I was talking about? This was pretty jacked up. I need a first tripod. So that's one of the things you're looking for when you get into the higher grits like 5,000, 8,000, 10,000. That's how you're going to know that you've reached the point where you can go. And it doesn't take a lot on these higher grit stones. You're not going to spend a long time because this isn't real hard steel. It's a fairly soft temper. It's just going to look and see. Guys, I'm going to tell you, here's the thing. I'm not going to make a big deal out of that. I don't. Well, I do not agree with it. Allow me to iterate on that a little bit. I love guns. You guys know this. My whole job in the military was guns. I did small arms, machine gun instructor, crew serve guns, shipboard deck guns, all of the 25 millimeter. All I did was guns. I also did missiles. I went to a school where I learned how to do missiles. So anything to do with guns. I mean, my email is gunmonkey1974. But let me give you my take on it. Benchmade was simply supporting their local police department. Because I got news for you. They can't resell those guns. Those guns were confiscated. Those guns were illegal. They were basically fruits of a crime. You can't resell that. They were gonna get destroyed anyway. So, yeah, it's kind of inflammatory and shit like that. But this is a time where you're gonna hear me say, guys, lay off of Benchmade. They didn't do anything wrong. As a matter of fact, Benchmade didn't even make the post. The police department did. It wasn't fake news. Those guns were slated for demolition. Those guns were gonna be destroyed regardless of whether it was Benchmade that did it, Spyderco, Touch Knives in Portland, Gerber. I mean, if you're gonna fuck with Benchmade, fuck with them about the fact that they can't grind a goddamn knife straight. So, yes, they destroyed a bunch of guns. And the fact is that other knife makers and knife companies have capitalized on. I mean, it's, I don't know myself. It's nowhere near as big a deal as everybody seems to be blowing it up to be. Yeah, ZT picks on everybody. Maybe they should address their lock failure issue before they, maybe address their lock failure issue before they go pinging on somebody, because I've never had a Benchmade lock fail. She's singing the song with all the countries in the world. Did you get them all? Can you do them all now?
No.
No?
I can only go on the Costa Rica.
Say hi to everybody.
Ah!
Doing a live feed.
Hi.
Hi. All right, go away.
Hi.
We've all seen enough of you.
No, you haven't. I need to be censored.
Be the center getting your butt whooped. What was the... I mean, Ernie Emerson made a post about, you know, he even makes guns. I was going to fucking... Matt wanted to respond. Do you make those with your feet too? Yeah, because that goes back to a comment I made in a video about how you know you got an actual Emerson. Does it feel like it was put together with somebody's feet? But, yeah, guys... Lay off a Benchmade. They didn't do anything fucking wrong. They just didn't. It was that I heard that somewhere before, and I was like, maybe that's where I heard. Maybe it was Wrangler Store. Yeah, I have a video that's the title of. All right, guys, we're gonna go to 10,000. This razor was not as bad as I thought it was going to be from outward appearances. So, well, that's no good, guys. I've gotten some manner of aberrant grit on this. Now I got to go back down a stone. But guys, that's basically it. That's straight razors. Straight razors in a nutshell. So be careful where you buy them. Be careful where you buy them. Be careful what you're paying for them. Shop around. You can probably get the same make and model fucking cheaper. As much as the Artist Shaving has given me some business, I don't like their. You can get a razor there for $200 that you could probably get for 70 or 80 somewhere else, and the only difference is it says the Artist Shaving on it. So, guys, I'm gonna get off of here. If there are any questions about straight razors, do not hesitate to go into the comments and ask me some questions. So I will talk to you guys later. Isabel, go away. No one's gonna see you. I'm gonna stand right here and block it. Hey, get back in there.